Number 528. We are calling for justice for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. So, guys, I want you to stay tuned because we have a real special West Wednesday tonight because I'm still trying to find my brother Tyrone West's son, Trayvon, his baby boy, Trayvon. So, if you guys can continue to just hold on and share this as we share the video that when we're online that we play. So, just stay tuned and we shall be right back. Mic check.
Can't stop, won't stop, till killer cops, or in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No, why you
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, ABDUL SALAAM, July 1st, 2013. Here SALAAM is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get that.
Profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Hold on a second, sir. Do me a favor, take out your keys. Yeah, you can record me.
For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What are you call a supervisor? I'm about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardes Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Brother Ben, for playing that. And thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sorry that we're late, but it's a lot going on. And I'm glad that my brother played that video just to kind of give you guys a gist of what our 10 years have looked like fighting for accountability for my big brother Tyrone West, and not just him, but literally for all the victims of police brutality and murder. But it saddens me and breaking my heart because the fact that when this happened to my brother, people don't realize what role this plays on a whole family. And I want to start from my brother, 3 beautiful children, from his oldest daughter to his youngest son. He has a beautiful daughter as well as 2 sons. And this took a whole toll on their life, like a whole toll. Like literally, my brother, youngest son, had started suffering literally from a mental breakdown that developed soon as his father was murdered, because he always blamed himself, because he kept saying, if I would have went with my father that night when he called me to stay the night, my father wouldn't be dead. And then literally after that, like at the sweet tender age of 16, his father is murdered. And then this poor baby not only had to go through that, but then you get incarcerated and you never been incarcerated in your life. And it's because you literally act out. You didn't hurt anyone, but you literally act out because you were missing your dad, and they locked you up for 5 years. And while he was in there, he got abused. He experienced police brutality. So he doesn't trust law enforcement officers at all. So if you were beaten, literally tortured in jail to the point that I had to send an attorney there to take pictures, to bring him back in front of a judge. Literally, it was crucial. And then I even back then when it was going on, thank God for you guys out there, because I posted it on my Facebook page and I kept telling you guys, call down to the detention center and where they had Trayvon at. And you guys called down there, and thank God they stopped beating on him. But by then, it psychologically messed him completely up, you know. And then the fact that he recently, with all the new developments of me still trying to have his father's case reopened, just a lot of things, you know, has been transpiring. And he took off and he thought the answer was, let me go to Atlanta. Let me go to Atlanta, Georgia. I don't want to go to Baltimore where they killed my father. And he literally, you know, lived down South Carolina, but he's like, let me just go to Atlanta, Georgia for a fresh start. And it turned into a nightmare. And I've been racking my brains because I hadn't spoken to him since like last Friday, and this Friday that passed. And he had called me and he was like sounding frantic. He had gotten robbed. His car had ran out of gas. Like he literally left South Carolina driving his vehicle for his car to literally break down. And if you look at the picture, he's on the screen. Thank you, Benjamin, for that. But literally, he drove from South Carolina and to Atlanta. And when he got down there, his car immediately broke down 2 to 3 times. And we kept sending him money to put in the gas tank and things of that nature. But then last Friday, he called me. He was so upset. It was in the middle of the night. He called me and said, Auntie, please, you got to get me home. I don't have my car. I've been robbed. And I've been walking for days. Like literally the day before, they had transported him to a hospital because his foot was in so much of pain from walking miles. Like this poor baby had been walking. Like if literally when I talked to my cousin Neil, he broke down where everything was, because I kept a log of everything my nephew was experiencing, where the car was breaking down, and he described where my nephew's car had broke down the last time. It broke down. He said, if you want to get proximity, pretty much where Cherry Hill is. Everybody know Cherry Hill and Westport area. So proximity from there, and it's actually, just imagine yourself walking from Cherry Hill all the way to Roland Park. That's how far my nephew had walked. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. But long story short, he called me and he said, you got to get me from there. He said, from here, he said, my car, I don't know where my car is. He said it broke down and I literally had to walk miles and my feet hurt so bad. And he was like, I just got robbed, because we sent him money to get back home. And as soon as we sent him the money, he got robbed. And then I didn't hear anything. So that's why I literally started, reaching out to you guys and just like, okay, it's past 48 hours. And then thank God for prayer. It worked. And then the day, like on the West Wednesday, I'm at work. Sorry. Give me 1 minute. But he called me and I was so happy. And he literally went to a bank and he called from the bank and he's like, hey, he asked the bank teller, because she called me, and he asked for us to send him some more money, because he's like, I gotta go. He said, I still don't have my car. He said, I still been walking for days. And I'm like, oh my God. So at that moment, it was a sweet bank teller. And so I talked to him like, oh my God. And I explained the situation. And I explained also that he has a mental health issue going on. And I said, please, let's just get him to the hospital. That way we can get him his medicine and then we can get him home safe. She's like, okay. She said, oh, it's cool, because she knew people in the neighborhood. Like she knew like the crisis center that's not too far from there. And she also knew like the officers that might have would have showed up, because she said, we're a bank. They always come in and check with us. So I'm like, good. Like, and I'm praying and I'm so happy and I'm posting. And literally the crisis people came, and I even talked to them on the phone while I'm at work advocating for my nephew. And they was like, we had our plan already. He was ready to go, and they were, putting him in the ambulance, things of that nature. But as soon as he saw a police officer, that baby took off running. So now back at square one. I'm back at square one. I feel like I'm trapped in a nightmare. And until I get him home safely, I'm not going to rest. I'm not going to rest. And this is way too much. And it really made me feel like, and it's sad that until we experience certain pains, the pain hit differently when it's always your loved one. But you can always show empathy and things of that nature when you hear other people going through crisis and whatnot. But literally it started making me think, because when I got on the missing page from Georgia and placed my nephew in that on that platform, I was looking at babies being missing, women being, and we talk about it. And even I done shared, praying that this person gets back home. But when it's your loved one, it's like, oh my God, I'm just like, now I just feel like once I get him back home, not only do I want to advocate for police brutality and murder, but definitely want to advocate for anybody that's suffering when their loved one is missing. Like, that is a mental thing that messes your mind up, because you don't know if they're okay. You don't know anything. And that's heartbreaking and devastating. And I like, oh my God, like it's just so much of work that needs to be done. And not just in my city, but this is happening everywhere, and it's just sad that what this has taught me is that we go through things, and I feel like what my baby is showing me, and it's a lot of people that don't just have empathy. Like, humanity has just stepped away from earth. Like, nobody really cares, nobody takes nobody word. Like, when his car broke down the first time, you had a few good people that was like calling me and things like that, because his phone was in charge, things like that, because his car broke down, ran out of gas. And then after a while, he wound up buying like a prepaid phone. We sent the money for that. He got that, and he was communicating with us with that. And then after that, it's like once he got robbed, and he told me somebody took his phone, but he said, I got my car keys, but it's just so sad. Like, and I know I'm scrambling, and I apologize in advance, but it's really sad that what people go through, especially like if you're going through your mental health, and then I can hear it in his voice that he definitely needs his medication because, like, now that this poor baby is seeing different Mercedes Benz ride past, he's assuming that it's his Mercedes Benz because he's like, I saw a lady ride in my car today, and and I'm in my mind like, baby, I'm telling like that's not your car. Like when your car ran, I'm explaining when your car ran out of gas, literally the police impounded your car. It's at an impound lot. The police is literally pretty much holding the car until we, get you connected. You go get your car, but more so I'm worried about you, and it's just sad, like the stuff that you go through, and this is real. And the only reason why I'm saying all of this is like we need to go back to being people that believe people when they tell you something. Like if someone says, hey, I've been walking for miles, my feet hurt, my car ran out of gas, you can't just assume every black young brother or man or woman that says this is lying. You can't assume that and just, oh, be mean and like, oh, I've got to put you out. This ain't a hotel. Like, you're not thinking about somebody like that could be the last time that somebody cried, plead for help, and suddenly you making sure you send people to make sure they're okay. You rather escort him out like he's an animal. And it's so sad. An animal gets more respect, more anything than a human being. And this is sad, especially a black African American human being and a brown Latino a human being. It's just sad and disgusting. And at the end of the day, all of our lives matter, but at the same time, it's just we're in sad times that your life can be changed in a split second. We don't have to wait like months, like literally in a split second, things can go from being a little bad to a nightmare. And that's what is happening in my nephew's case. So now I got to worry about bringing him home. If I don't hear anything, I'm telling you guys now, I want y'all to say a prayer for me because my plans is driving down there on Friday and filling up my gas tank, hoping I don't break down. I don't even do the highway. But if I got to go on the highway to make sure my baby is safe and brought back and go down to the hospital with him and he sees somebody that loves him there with him to make sure he get his medication, and then we go from there. And then it's crazy because even though he's a missing person, his car breakdown, right now his car is almost $400 or $500 just to get out. Like he didn't ask for his car to break down. He didn't ask for none of this, but it's just like we're in a capitalist system that don't give a damn. They don't care. They're like, well, we understand, he's missing. We understand it happened. But however, the start of the car certainly was like a 287 off the top. And then they're like, by tomorrow, we're going to add a $50 administration fee and then $25 every day. So now the car is almost like $400. And God knows by the time I get down there Friday how much it's going to cost or whatever. But we're in real sad times. And I just want to, first of all, thank you guys so much for being on this crusade of justice and accountability, taking your time week after week to hear, our stories and things like that. And I had my sister, literally, she drove all the way past from DC to come up here to tell you about her loved one that was gunned down in a police car. You literally have an accident. You're in an accident and you're like, okay, my car just got in an accident. Okay, the police is called. The worst thing a person worries about, okay, do I have insurance on this car? Whatever, like I might get a ticket, whatever, I might be in the wrong way at fault. You don't think a police officer is going to show up to the scene and murder you. Murder you. That's what happened to Mr. Green. He was assassinated with cuffs on. And thank God that killer cop was locked up immediately. But I brought my queen on. Well, she came down to Greenmount last week to be on the streets of Greenmount to let us know that trial is coming up and we need to support her. We need to support each other in any area that we see fit, because it's just like my brother Boom says, we all we got, we all we need, So I just want to, like I said, thank you guys for always being there, brothers. Prayer, whether it's whatever, but it's like, and you get tired of situation after situation. Like I'm still dealing with the crisis of having my car tires cut because I went to a meeting about Worley. Like Worley, as soon as I go to town hall meetings and I start speaking out, then they want to come playing with my car. It's a known thing. Y'all been following me for years. Y'all know I ain't lie. I always show you the receipts. I come with receipts, okay? I'm not gonna just come with something and say, oh, this is this. And that's why immediately I was so happy that once I heard my nephew's voice, I immediately went to social media where I was asking you guys to pray. And I'm like, he's been found, but at the same time, he's not even safe because he's not in my arms. He's not in my arms. And it's so sad. It's so sad. It's just like, this is not life. Like, life is a beautiful thing and it's about family, it's about friends, but this is not life. But like I said, we go through anything, and I have been bonding with my sister Jackie. That's Trayvon's other aunt, and we've been like up all night. And we was letting his grandmother, Miss Murray, just kind of rest because we're gonna take the lead on this. And me and her been up to like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, and then I've been talking to my sister Adina, my sister Angela, my praying buddy. We've been praying together. Like, each and every last one of you guys have just been there for me. Rather than just I'm praying for you. I'm sorry this happened. Y'all don't know how much this means to me. It means the world. And the people that picked up the phone and just called because they know how I feel about my brother, children, and my brother. And this is a nightmare. This is not. And I prayed. And when he said that, then every Wednesday, my nephew had a thing where he always called me, Happy West Wednesday. Auntie, he was like, I love you, he'll say, do your thing. I'll be watching online. And I'm like, last night I'm praying to God as I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm starting to feel sick. My daughter's sick right now. So it's a lot going on. And I'm like, I hope I'm not getting sick. And then I just started praying like, oh my God, I'm not even going to hear my baby voice on West Wednesday. And then literally he called me, he was like, ain't today Wednesday, Auntie? And I was like, yeah. He was like, it's West Wednesday. He was like, look at God. The lady let me use the phone. I came to the bank and he was like, y'all can send me the money, but I don't have my ID because the person that robbed me, they took my whole wallet and everything. He said, I still don't know where my car is. But then he was like, he saw a lady ride past. And I'm like, no, that lady didn't have your car, baby. But it's a lot. But again, like I said, just thank you. And I just want you, the ones that pray, continue on praying until he makes it home safe, till I make it up there to go grab him. However, whatever I gotta do, y'all already know I'm gonna do it. That means I gotta sleep in my car the whole entire weekend in Atlanta with no resources whatsoever. I'm going there and I'm gonna make sure I do the best. And then as I'm doing that, then this Tuesday coming up, it's my cousin-in-law's funeral. Like, she just passed away. Like I told you guys, like last week sometime. It's just too much. And then I'm praying for my sister Angela, who just lost her uncle. Like, it's so much. It's like, can we just have a peace of mind? I'm not asking to be rich. I'm not asking for nothing but a peace of mind and just to be all right out here to take care of our families and just enjoy life. And that's why I want to give a big shout out to my sister Adina, because last Friday I would have been in my bed crying after work, but she was like, no. She was like, let's go out. I'm going to take you out. Let's go to a comedy show. It's local. And I was like, okay. And I came home from work. I took a nice shower, nice hot shower. And I'm like, you know what? Let me put some clothes on, feel pretty about myself. And I went and I had the best time ever. And then that night, that's when, like she said, your nephew probably will call you tonight. We just be talking to each other. And sure enough, at midnight, he called me. But again, it wasn't a good call, but I heard from him. Just like today, wasn't a good call, but I heard from him. So anytime I hear from my family members, it's definitely a good call. And then I have his big sister. She's all worried now. And I'm so proud of her because she's trying to work through this. Like, she has her beautiful children she's taking care of. And then even big little Tyrone, he's doing good, taking care of his family, but they're still missing their dad. I can't be their dad. I could try to be there as much as I can, inspiring them, but I cannot be their dad. I cannot give them what he could give them. You know what I mean? Give them that daddy touch, that daddy love, and just be there. But they know their aunt loved them, and no matter what, if any way I'm sorry, that if anything happens, any way that I can be there, I'm there. No questions asked, I'm there. So again, I just want, like I said, thank you guys for being a strong support system. And I just want to let you guys know that we're going to give a special West Wednesday on the 20th, September the 20th. I'm going to be putting up the flyers, and I'm definitely involved because we are still saying no to private police, and I will be supporting the Hopkins students by all means necessary. Don't give a damn if Ronnie D threatened me the first time. Out of all the activists that came up there when they were doing the sit-in, he sent my attorney. He sent my attorney a letter and told me not to come on the premises. I'm like, why is everybody always worried about what I'm doing? And then sure enough, he sent somebody by my car, a white racist man. And thank God, Uncle Bill told people to walk me to my car because I didn't care. Like, I don't fear nobody but God. I don't care about nobody little stinking threats. I don't care how many times they cut my tire. I don't give a damn. I'm going to still be out here speaking my truths. And I'm going to still be fighting hard, not for my brother, but literally just not just for him, but for everybody. Like, there's a lot going on. And a big shout out to my sister, Gina, who's fighting for her beautiful daughter, India. She should be here. And just everybody, like, everybody, all of our loved ones. This is a club we never signed up for. Nobody signs up for their loved one to be brutally murdered by law enforcement officers. No one signs up for that club. Or even like my friend said last week, everybody that come in contact and have a bad ordeal with the police, they don't die. They survive. Some of them are survivors and they live with that guilt of, oh my goodness, well, I didn't die. It doesn't matter. You were abused. And it's probably even more traumatizing for you because I'm traumatized as just having my brother murdered. So every time I see a police car, it makes me like freeze up, like for real, because I'm like, is this if I get pulled over, is this gonna be my day? God forbid, Like, and it's not saying that every last police officer is a killer cop. Not saying that at all. But however, if you see someone getting murdered and you don't say anything or you don't do anything, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, you are a killer cop as well. But the ones, shout out for the ones that speak up. Shout out to my brother Joe Crystal, who spoke up, and unfortunately, he got ran out of Baltimore City with rats on his car. That's why I got really irritated when Worley tried to say Officer Friendly this and Officer Friendly that. I had to tell him Officer Friendly was dead. You didn't know? And I was talking about Detective Suter, who they pretty much said he killed himself, in the alley with a suit on after he just had the joyous time of seeing his son get married. That type of mentality that you're just gonna, oh, I want to blow my brains out the day before you're supposed to testify against the gun trace task force. Like, make it make sense. It doesn't. So they think they could tell us anything. And then we also need to think about Officer Torbett, who literally was gunned down. I think this was in 2011. He was actually gunned down outside of a nightclub. Outside of a nightclub, he was doing off-duty work outside of a nightclub, and it was a confrontation with someone in the crowd. But literally, he stepped up, and then when the police was called, his sisters and brothers in blue, they came and they just started shooting. And unfortunately, he was murdered. And you see them on video throwing a gun by Officer Torbett's body. And no, to this day, nobody's been charged. Just like with Officer Killer Ruiz, the first one that started all of this. Him and Chapman started all of this whole nightmare of my whole family, of why Trayvon is suffering from mental illness, why my brother's daughter and his oldest son are suffering, not having their dad here. Why my whole family is suffering, my children, me, all of us, are suffering a tremendous loss. Thanks to Killer Ruiz and his 16 goonies that decided they wanted to murder one unarmed man. That is disgusting, but I'm never going to stop. I don't care what happens, whatever y'all want to do, bring it, because guess what? I'm going to keep on fighting for accountability. I'm going to keep telling my truth. So again, I just wanted to thank y'all, and I wanted to check in to see if anybody wanted to say anything. But before I say that, and again, sorry for scrambling, I'm going to need everybody to show up, like I said, on the 20th, September the 20th, when we do West Wednesday. And I'm definitely going to need everybody that Thursday to literally pack City Hall, testify, and say we do not need office. I mean, we do not need Worley to do anything for us. He done enough damage. If you couldn't handle 140 officers, just like my sister said, What makes you think you can handle all of them? You can't. And the fact that he sits there and lied with a straight face, shame on him. It disgusts me because I'm the type of person, I don't care who you are, I will try to give you the benefit of the doubt. And when he said, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened to your brother," that touched my heart because I'm like, "Oh, well, at least he did humble himself enough to say he was sorry that happened to my brother." And I'm like, but then for me to learn that he was at the scene, y'all. He was one of the people at the scene where my brother, an unarmed man, was murdered. So you can imagine what that scene looked like. You see sobbing witnesses crying, saying how my brother was beat from one side of the street to the next. That man didn't deserve it. And for you to say you never saw a bad officer, shame on you. How disgusting. And then you lie with a straight face. And the fact that even the lady, the beautiful queen, and I had opened up at the first meeting that we went to. I started talking about how he felt us for the Brooklyn part, the Brooklyn Park massacre. He did nothing. You failed us. I told him you failed us, and I said, what about that poor queen who lost her baby, and also the other queen who lost her son? What about those two? You failed us, and I even talked about our Muslim brother that went into the market, Nicholas Lee, and he was gunned down in front of his wife and baby. He had his baby blood all over the stroller inside of the Giants where our mayor works at. Talked about all of that at the first meeting, but at the last meeting, the beautiful queen showed up. And do you know Worley had nothing to say? Even the mayor was like, "Okay, come talk to me. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk." I felt like he was coming from a sincere place. I'm not even going to lie. Mayor Brandon Scott was coming from a sincere place of love, peace, or whatever. But the commissioner was like soulless. He ain't say nothing. All he kept doing was shaking his feet. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And we want somebody to be our commissioner like that for the next couple of years, bad enough. We just got rid of, well, the commissioner, he just walked up. He got a whole paycheck, y'all. A whole paycheck, and he ain't even serve. He ain't even stick around. He ain't even stick around. So we need to speak up, stand forward, and say no. Just like Shorty said, you do not deserve to serve. So I'm gonna do a mic check real quick, and then I'm gonna come back. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to point out in the effort to help Trayvon, it sort of strikes me how there's so many good people. He's stuck in the Atlanta area facing all these problems. And I knew that a former student of mine was down there in Atlanta. So I got in touch and say, how would you feel about helping if you could? And he told me that another cousin of Tyrone's and a cousin of yours, Tawan and Neil, had already called him because they knew each other when they were in the rap club at the Polytechnic High School. And I was the advisor for that club. So Neil had already called him, and he had already spent some time searching around the city trying to find Trayvon prior to my calling him up. So I just mentioned that to say there's some wonderful people around.
Awesome.
And the more wonderful people we mobilize, the more progress we're going to make. The other thing I wanted to mention was about Worley. I had COVID, so I wasn't able to go to any of the town halls, but I watched them. And one of the points that came out was that Worley said when he was the commander of the Northeast District Police Precinct, that he was in charge of about 140 police officers. And he said, I can't know everything that they're doing. And, and he argued that that's an impossibility. And he also argued that bad cops don't do bad in front of good cops, so that he would not have seen the murderous activities and the brutal activities. So it struck me how different that is from my experience as a teacher. When I was teaching high school, I would generally have a total of about 150 students. That's a larger number than Worley's 140 cops. And it was my responsibility to know if a student was feeling suicidal, if a student was being bullied, if the student was a bully. And if I knew those things, I could make a difference in a positive way. If a student needed more encouragement, if a student needed some extra academic help. So for Worley to argue that he didn't know any of those horrible things done by the cops under his command, the cops under his command who killed Tyrone, the cops under his command who brutalized ABDUL, the cops under his command who did an illegal, unjustified, racist, well, I won't say racist, but a raid of ADIENA Britt's home and held her son at gunpoint. For him to say that he couldn't know that because there were too many cops under his control, or for him to say that bad cops wouldn't do bad in front of a good cop, which he claims to be, is laughable as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense because for those of you who don't know, I was at most of these things. I was behind the camera, so y'all didn't see me. But I didn't think about this till later. But Bill, remember he was asked, he gave that response that bad cops don't do things in front of good cops, right? But he also, we also asked him whether or not he reported other cops, and he said yes, lots of times. Those two things don't make sense. Who are you reporting if you're not seeing anybody?
That's a good point. Excellent point. Excellent point. Yeah. And then I wanted to mention real quick, and a big shout out to my brother Ben, because he always stay behind the scene, behind the camera, always broadcasting for us. Shout out to you. But it's weird that after he broadcast and for the final, like after we did the final town hall meeting and whatnot, he always did an excellent job broadcasting at the very last West Wednesday, where a lot of hell and havoc broke out. Literally, Ben's tire got cut too. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, you cannot make this stuff. And it was very interesting that literally while we were on Greenmount Avenue, and I'll let you get back to your point, Bill. I'm sorry, Uncle Bill, but I'll let you get back. But literally there, and I wish you could have even been out there, but there was a big foot chase, y'all. Get this. It was a foot chase. And like I said, I don't try, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theory person, but when you see all the corruption that goes on with the gangs in blue, the biggest gang in America, you definitely got to be on point and feel some type of way. But literally, all we heard was somebody screaming. Next thing you know, we seen so many jump out boys that they said they don't do that no more. Jump out of not just like regular SUVs. They were jumping out of regular little cars and trucks. I'm talking about normal cars. And we like, what in the world is this? Like jumping out with their guns drawn, running around Greenmount like a fool. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. The day that I know Ben would have got up there and got raw footage, because that's what Ben do. He's that type of guy. He's going to jump out. He's going to run with the crowd. And he's going to put the camera in their face. And it's weird. The same night, Ben car tire get cut on the way coming to West Wednesday, y'all. And they got me the week before. Make the connection. Make the connection. So I'll pass it back to you, Bill. Mic check.
Mic check. So I just wanted to say that the Mayor Scott, should be ashamed of himself for trying to make Worley the police chief. And those who are available, I think it'd be great if you come out on the 21st of this month, 5 o'clock at City Hall, when they're having the confirmation hearing, and let them know we don't want someone who's this dangerous, who has turned the other cheek about police brutality in his department and done nothing to make sure that those cops are held up to accountability. We need to make sure the best we can. We may win, we may not, but we need to try our best to make sure that this dangerous man does not become the chief of police in Baltimore. And that's all I wanted to say. Mic check.
Mic check. And Uncle Bill, while you there, I just had a question, because I know Marcellus hasn't been in a while, and I definitely miss him. And I know he's probably not here tonight, but I was wondering, because I see lots of comments and things like that on our board. I was wondering, are you able to read them?
I can do that. By the way, Marcellus is away on military duty for a year, so that's why.
Oh, okay. Well, shout out to Marcellus.
You want me to read those now?
Yes, please. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm not sure if I'm seeing all of them, but I'll read what I can see. We start off with Hillary saying, mic check. I wrote here for West Wednesday. AC Britt says, mic check. Kia Black says, mic check. Kia Black has the praying hands in response to something you had said. Quincy Marley has the fist up and a pictogram. Kia says, praying for a speedy and safe return home, talking about Trayvon.
Yes.
Judith says, "My check. So glad you located your nephew, Tawanda. Much love." Elmer Marable says, "True," in response to one of your comments. And then he has the praying hands. I wrote, "I'm confident that we will succeed, not right away, but eventually, in defeating capitalism. Then we'll create a sisterly and brotherly world without police terror and without the trauma to families like the horrible impact on Trayvon as a consequence of the police stealing his dad's life." Latarsha Gardner says, "Thanks for podcasting." Hillary says, "Way too much, Tawanda. Trayvon is blessed to have you. You were there for so many. Please be sure to keep yourself hydrated and take care of yourself too. Love and hugs to you." Latarsha Gardner says, "Matthew 25 movement." Latarsha has fist up. And then Latarsha says, "Officials just making Brooklyn an entertainment for the world." Talking about the lack of police activity there. Jacqueline Morrison Brown says, replying to Hillary Robbins Hellerback, "Yes, Trayvon is a word missing. I thank God for Tawanda. What a blessing indeed." Jacqueline then says, "Right." The host says, "Thank you for sharing, Latarsha." And I guess host is Ben. Judith says, "You're right, Bill and Ben. And if he becomes commissioner, what every officer is doing will be Worley's responsibility, whether he sees it or not, whether he's made aware of it or not, etc. It's his job to know or to find out and to take action accordingly." Charlene says, "Get him, Ben. Yes, it does not make sense to say that you don't see bad cops doing things and also claim to turn in bad cops." Jacqueline says, "Wow." Latarsha says, trust your instincts. Conspiracy is for the unbeliever." And Latarsha says, "Silence is consent." So I hope I didn't miss any comments. Those are all the ones I can see.
Awesome. And thank you guys for all the comments and everything. Thank you for tuning in. And I want to thank, like I said, a big special shout out to my sister Jacqueline. Like I said, me and her has been up. That's why I look a mess right now. I don't even care. But we've been up like crazy worrying about our nephew. So just guys, keep us in prayer, keep us in thoughts. And also I want to send a special prayer out to my cousin Neil that's been in the background like he always has been. And tomorrow he's getting a hip replacement. So I'm wishing him a speedy recovery. I love you, cuz. Thank you for always being there. Definitely big shout out. Thank you, because he was able to, advocate with me when we were talking to the crisis center when they came to pick up my loved one. But everything was going right until the pig showed up. And it's just that. And then the crazy part, I can honestly say that, and everybody's not bad, but for like different officers that I have been communicating with, even though, and I'm way out of my territory because I don't even like talking to police officers. I really don't. I'm just being honest. But the ones that I have talked to, me and Jacqueline, they have been like really, it was to the point it was scaring me because I'm like, they been a little bit too nice. And again, I'm thinking like, oh, they done did something to my damn baby and they covering it up. That's what I thought. But Jacqueline was like, since they might, not be like that, but they have like this one officer, he's just like, "I'm so sorry that's happening." And he really, like, you can feel the sincerity. And like, if we had more officers like that, then maybe we'd be okay. But like I said, I feel sorry for the very few good officers that we have. I really feel sorry for you guys. But we got to get rid of all these bad ones. And it's more than one rotten apple. It's way more than one rotten apple. If we had one rotten apple, it wouldn't be that bad. So again, just thank you guys. So if all hearts and minds are clear, we're gonna move on to our sad list. And before we do that, I will read my disclaimer. But I want to check in to see if anybody want to add any questions or comments before we move on to our sad list. Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. Mic check. So again, I guess nobody don't want to share anything, but this is the time where before I read this disclosure, if you want to step away from your device, whether you're looking at this through your phone, computer, tablet, this will be your time to step away because we don't want to traumatize people. We always read a community violence list or unsolved list because we don't even know if these acts are just, like community people doing it to each other. We don't know. I don't know if it's the gun trace task force still killing people. So, but just to show respect, I want to read this disclaimer real fast. All right.
Tawanda,
Yes.
before you read that, there's a comment from Latarsha, and she asks if you can repeat the dates for this week. I think she means the next special West Wednesday and the city council hearing.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sister, I can repeat it. Thanks, Uncle Bill, for that. So the dates, the special West Wednesday is going to be on the 20th. So if you can come join us, it's going to be the 20th, and we're going to be on Hopkins grounds, but I will be sharing the flyer. That's September the 20th. And then also on the 21st at City Hall will be the hearing where we're going to say Worley does not deserve to serve. So those are the two dates. So thank you, my sister Queen, for asking. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for having an amazing podcast show. Thank you for being an amazing human being that's fighting not just for your beloved child, but you fight for everybody. And I love that about you. So just keep on doing what you're doing. We love you. And it's just sad that, we have to meet in a blood family that we never asked to sign up to. So thank you again, my queen. All right. So I'm going to turn my camera off as I read this disclaimer. Okay. It is our mission of the West Coalition to work for accountability for Tyrone West and all the victims of police brutality. We believe that there is a connection between police brutality and community violence. Police can use de escalation strategies to diffuse situations without necessarily using force. And we encourage community members to resolve disputes without violence. We care deeply about those families impacted by police brutality and community violence. We seek to lift up the names of their loved ones from a place of respect and care. We obtained the list of those shot and killed by police and those lost to community violence from a national and local news outlet. We know that these are by no means exhaustive lists and that gun violence isn't the only way people are murdered. We do not obtain detailed information about the circumstances surrounding each, I'm sorry, each of these deaths or people who have died. By reading these names, we are not condoning violence behavior on any part of anyone involved in the situation. So again, we're coming from a loving space, and at this time, I will ask you guys to take 1 minute. If you are into praying, please say a prayer. And the first prayer that I would ask that you say is please not only bring my beloved Trayvon West home safely, but bring all the missing people home safe no matter where they are around the world. And then also to please pray for these families because these are not just names. We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being pictures on a shirt and pictures and bodies on, t-shirts with more than that. So our lives matter. So let's just take 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. If you say a prayer, say one. If not, just send positivity. That's all we need is positive vibes, you know, in this time of need. So let's just take 1 minute now. The time is 8:06. Mic check. Thank you guys so much. Definitely totally appreciate you. I'm not sure if my brother Brian is in queue. I think he is because I heard his voice earlier. So I'm going to hand it over to our brother Brian. If you're in queue, you can unmute yourself. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Are you hearing me, Twanda?
Yes, hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So it's my part of what we do here is to call the names of people in Baltimore who've died by violence in the past week, and we do this to raise them up and their families and their friends, and to remind ourselves of why we're in this work. So I would just ask you to echo the names back to me as I call them out. Anthony L. Shabazz.
Anthony L. Shabazz.
Ninmark Pearson.
Ninmark Pearson.
William Reed.
William Reed.
Thomas Bickel.
Thomas Bickel.
Nina Dooley.
Nina Dooley.
Eric Gill.
Eric Gill.
Donetta Robertson.
Donetta Robertson.
Carlisle Saunders.
Carlisle Saunders.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Uncle Bill, do you have the police brutality list?
Well, the place where we get the information from, they have not updated the list since August the 28th. So last West Wednesday, the last person who was killed by the police, who we upheld, was Thomas Carney on August the 28th, and they haven't added any stolen lives since that time. Unfortunately, I'm sure the police have killed a number of people, but we'll find out down the road.
Okay, so again, we stand in solidarity with those families and any families that are suffering a loss, just going through anything. Because right now we're all going through something, and that's the saddest part. And that's the recipe for disaster, because everybody is going through something at the same time, and nobody's having empathy for each other. Everybody's trying to push their need over someone else's need, but we're all in need. And just remember, live to love, love to live. I love you all. Please, I'm begging you guys, please keep my nephew Trayvon West and all the missing people. Please keep them in prayer. If you see my nephew, and could you post this picture again, Ben, as I'm closing out, please? But if you see my beloved nephew Trayvon West, please reach out to me. Please reach out to me ASAP via social media, by phone. Reach out to me ASAP because he's in desperate need to be back home with his family. He needs his medication. We want to get him stable and we want to get him home safely. Please, I'm begging you guys, if you see Trayvon West, please let me know. Because again, my mind is back at square one. I felt comfort and peace today when I heard his beautiful voice coming through the phone. But again, as soon as we called the crisis, people to come get him, everything was working until the police showed up and the poor baby got scared and ran. He took off running. The officer called me and said, "I'm so sorry, Miss Jones. Your nephew took off running." So again, live to love, love to live. We love you all, and we will be back out in the streets next West Wednesday. Cell blocks for killer cops. We won't stop. We can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. The same way that we brought you in with the video that we do need to update because we left it on Marilyn Mosley. We know that she's not the prosecutor and things of that nature, but we need my brother's case open ASAP. Right? We need all the cases open. Anthony Anderson case, we need all of the cases open ASAP because our loved ones are more than hashtags and body bags. Thank you. Watch the video, and we will see you guys next week. Mic check.
Mic check.
and Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. SALAAM begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, ADIENA BRITT and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is ADIENA BRITT, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No, why you
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the SALAAM vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the Officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, ABDUL SALAAM, and my sister Adina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.